like to thanks everyone for joining us today at 7th edition of ETAuto Retail Forum. And the topic for the fireside chat is how the rural market has evolved in post-pandemic world. So first of all, I would like to understand from you, Mr. Aniruddha, how has the market has evolved, especially in the rural segment when 100cc segment is under stress?
Thank you. Good afternoon, all. Thank you for having me here. When I was actually thinking about today's talk, and I thought that I had a story reasonably figured out that rural agri is doing well, non-agri has a problem, and that is how the story is going to go. But over the last 2 days, what you have seen happen in Maharashtra is really making the problem of even the agri-rural come very alive. And what we have been seeing as being at the entry level of the mobility landscape is that entry price points are severely under stress, and that's happening with a propensity to delay replacement buying. So if I have a vehicle today and a usual cycle of replacement was there, I would now run it for another 2 years. A, because in COVID I didn't use it as much. B, because today my income is depleted, my savings are depleted, and the prices of the vehicle have gone up by close to 40% in the last 2 to 3 years. So nobody's income has kept pace with that. So all of these factors combined with what's happening in the more recent economic landscape at the rural level is causing a tremendous amount of pressure in the rural landscape, I would say.
What are you facing at the dealer end, Mr. Amit? How has been like last 1.5 years of time?
Thank you, Deepanshu, for having me here. Post-COVID, demand of two-wheelers have suddenly gone down. And it's almost around 40 to 50% the sales are down. And mostly the sales are down from the rural part of our channel, because the cost of the vehicles have really gone up. Inflation is high, though our government and RBI is intervening to control that. But because of that, the interest rates for the vehicle financing has also gone up. And the income of rural customer post-pandemic has decreased as compared to pre-pandemic time. So the rural market is tough right now, and we are still suffering for the demand or to come back at the same level what we were at the pre-pandemic levels. And also, all the manufacturers have increased the price by 30 to 40%. So that also a very big deterrent. All 4 or 5 things are very big deterrent, which are forcing low demand in the rural.
Mr. Aniruddha, tell us about what OEMs are doing to navigate this slowdown in rural economy, and what kind of strategies you are planning to actually revive the segment or the demand in this particular segment.
So I think the way we are looking at it is that while we are having these hopefully short-term blips that are happening, the fundamental 4 factors that are driving at an India level and also at a rural level, whether it is formalization of the economy, financialization of the economy, premiumization of the demand, and digitization of the consumer. I think these are fundamentally 4 driving factors which are true even in the rural. How do we leverage these factors? So while you're right that the demand at the 100cc level or the entry level is under pressure, but we see that there is a certain amount of premium demand that still sustains. So our mid-segment vehicles are still doing well in the same market, but our entry price points are under pressure. So we are trying to figure out how do we reach that story out better. And to do that, what we are also able to see is that the consumption of digital media at the rural level is also very interesting. So we are able to then tap into vernacular platforms, content which is locally relevant, and to reach our message out. So changing the nature of the narrative, going for the right kind of products, and focusing on these four fundamental drivers to be able to do that, including what as Amiji was saying that, retail finance is such a big measure. How do we ensure that we can get a very genuine, useful retail finance made available to the consumer? All of these are the ways in which we are trying to ensure that reach out to consumers happen, they find a relevant product which they are able to access easily.
Retail financing is one of the most important part here, where affordability makes a lot more sense. So at dealer level, Mr. Amit, what kind of things you have implemented in terms of, to actually hold on to that particular market and not wind up shops?
Actually, in dealers' hand, there's literally not much in our hands because we are governed by OEM. We can't change interest rate because it's governed by the RBI and banks. We can do what we are doing is providing them the best of interest rate. We have gone to public sector banks so that the interest rate as compared to private sector banks, the interest rate are cheaper as compared. So we have started doing public sector bank financing, retail financing, and also we are now motivating customer by doing a grand rural melas for exchange so that they are promoted, they are motivated enough to exchange their vehicles. Because right now in rural market, what I have seen, that their priority is not to change the motorcycle. They are postponing that decision because rest all things are very urgent in their life, not the two-wheeler right now because of the inflation high or because of XYZ reasons, what we have discussed right now. So we are promoting a lot of exchange melas coupled with the public sector banks. So that's a big movement what we are doing, and because of this reason we have increased our sale by 5-10%. But at this junction where the sales are dropped by 50%, 5-10% is also a big thing. Rest everything, I think retention of manpower is also a big problem because when the sales go down, their incentives also go down, and retaining that manpower is very, very difficult. That's also a big problem at the dealership level. So that's what I think, motivating and them to exchange the vehicle, to buy new. I think that's all dealer can do, and providing them low cost EMIs. That's it.
The vehicle exchange has bring to me an interesting thing that scrappage policy is around the corner. So do you think that it will help to revive the demand or some level of, to create those level of excitement in terms of reviving the demand from rural market?
So I think as an industry, we are really looking forward to the scrappage policy rollout in a very large, pervasive manner. Some very important announcements did happen in the budget, which give a lot of heart. So at least in the four-wheeler level, I think the impact will be seen much sooner. But by the time that the scrappage benefit becomes clear and communicated to a rural consumer for him to take benefit of that, that is still going to take some time. So while yes, we look forward to it, but I don't think it is around the corner or immediate. Also another factor that happens, and we possibly, when we talk about new vehicles, we kind of forget that there is a pre-owned vehicle business which is also as big or 1.5 times the size of the new vehicle business. And in India, if I have to scrap a vehicle versus, let's say, give it to my, bhatija or to give it to somebody, it carries on in the family to somebody else. So something like that is probably going to be, and we get to see how it's going to play out. A lot of it will depend on the extent of the benefit that the consumer does get to do that. So I think initiatives by dealer partners and through such policy, if they come in a timely and a clear manner, would really help.
You talked about the cost of the vehicle has increased by 40%. So, what kind of efforts OEMs are playing in terms of, getting the more economical products in the market, or maybe some kind of level of scheme for dealers or customers, so that actually consumers from the rural market can buy those and the circular economy can play. So
when we speak about costs have gone up, if it was led by pricing of player A versus player B, it would have had one or two players going in. as an industry, it's gone up, and because it's led by 2 or 3 significant factors. One is by regulation. So the entire transition, we are probably the only country which has done an entire leapfrog from BS4 to BS6. We are right now in the phase of doing OBD2A. We have added insurance as a regulatory cost which has come on board. Along with that, what we saw in the last 1 year was probably the largest super cycle of commodity price increases that we have seen, at least in most of our working professional lifetime. That itself as a pressure was huge. I don't think all of it was passed on by any player. So there has been a lot of absorption done by the OEMs so that we are able to maintain price points in the market, and also a lot of significant intelligent engineering work has been done to be able to retain vehicle characteristics and manage costs. So these are all efforts that are done. But along with that, I think, and I speak now from TVS's standpoint, is that we see that we have a collective responsibility for the health of the entire extended enterprise. So right as when COVID came in, we realized that there was a need to move away from some of our older practices of the industry. And from that time onwards, we have been running on a cash and carry model. So there is no interest burden on a dealer partner. The stock is fresh. It is as per requirement, and we maintain a 30 to 33 days stock across, which I think also leads to a better velocity at the dealership, and that velocity leads to better conversions, better ability to pay incentives, better ability to keep better manpower, and these are all stepping stones to ensuring that demand overall, and especially in the rural, is helped along.
Got it. Mr. Amit, what is your opinion on the stock levels, Mr. Haldar said about?
Yes, definitely the stocking levels are low at the dealership, but that alone will not help till the retail is not increased, at the pre-COVID level, because our infrastructures and everything, that doesn't support. Only one thing can't support. Yes, it's helping us in sustaining these bad times, but ultimately the retail has to go up.
Now, we have heard from both OEMs and dealers, what kind of things they're implementing to revive the demand in rural economy. But do you think government should now play a role here and, step in, do something about the GST, or, are you talking about it? What's the scenario?
That was the most non-leading question you asked in the day. So my viewpoint on GST is simple, is that if you would to travel by air, or if you travel by train, the GST that you pay on a AC first class ticket and what you pay on a second class sleeper bogie is different. In one you don't pay, and in the other you pay something. There's a difference that is acknowledged, saying that this is a necessity that has aspirations or aspects of luxury in it, and the GST accordingly moves. Here is a product where, with our level of infrastructure of mass transit, mobility is almost a fundamental right. To be able to have livelihood, you need mobility. To have your most critical method of that, which is the two-wheeler for the large portion, and by sheer numbers it is very clear, to be at the highest slab or the near highest slab of GST possible, and to treat it as a luxury belies logic. So it should be treated like you would treat almost any other good of absolute necessity, and an equivalent level of GST should be applied, and not see it as a luxury in that sense. Because in today's day and age, basic mobility should be treated as a fundamental right to be able to earn livelihood, and not as a luxury.
What is your opinion, Mr. Amit, on this?
Yeah, what he's saying is quite correct, because without a vehicle, without a two-wheeler, it's a basic necessity. Without a two-wheeler, no person can sustain. They can't go to their jobs, because the public transport system still needs to be, they're catching up with all the metros are coming, all the connectivity is improving, but still basic public transport system is not up to the mark. So two-wheeler is a basic necessity, like we eat food, or it's like having a vehicle if you are working is a basic necessity. So if the GST level if the government revises the GST level, then it will bring the cost down, which has been increased because of the reason of BS4 to BS6 conversion, and again now the another 6.2 conversion. So and the insurance rates are up, everything. So I think GST level government should consider, and it will fuel the growth of two-wheeler especially.
From TVS point of view, what are the key things that you have implemented last 6 months at your dealer with your dealers? And if anything which can be, can be key takeaways for the audience and for the dealers here present. 3 things if you can define.
So I think the fundamental base principles of saying that, as I said, that the drivers are formalization, financialization, premiumization, and digitization. So from a digitization standpoint, even in rural markets, outreach through digital, local, hyperlocal, vernacular mediums is proving to be very, very effective. Greater adoption of that, a more active involvement in that by dealer principals would go a long way. By using that and by creating the extra demand to be hold on to your people, ensure that their incentivization, their salaries, they're kept in, because that good quality manpower makes the difference to the productivity there. So we're trying to, help that happen. And the lastly, which is probably our prerogative in terms of our responsibility of providing products which are of that nature. So when we see this mid-segment going in, we have intervened with product introductions that are there. We have also intervened with pricing interventions so that we are able to absorb some of the cost, this thing. So to give a rightly priced product with a digital outreach, supported by very good level of manpower and processes at the local dealership. I think these are the things that are within our collective span of control as the OEM and the dealer partner that we would like to work on.
Mr. Amit, I want to understand from you how you're staying afloat in these times of crisis, and what is the situation with the manpower, because staying profitable in this particular time is really important. Is attrition is there, or people are sticking to their jobs? What is the scenario?
See, when the sales are down, so incentives also goes down, because when the sales, if you're selling 100, if you're selling 50 now, so that 50 sales which we are losing, the incentives are also less. So we have to trim our manpower also. We have to bring our manpower down so that we can keep few people, but they're motivated, they're getting right kind of incentives. So that's required. So, and yes, of course, so many dealerships are coming in four-wheeler. So many manufacturers are coming to India, especially Delhi NCR. So it's just a stepping stone to the people come from a rural background. They come to the two-wheeler dealership, then they're upgraded after getting trained 1.5 year. They upgrade or they switch to four-wheeler dealership where they get higher salary levels and higher everything. So cost of dealership service manpower have also increased. Sales manpower or service manpower, the cost of operations have increased, though the volumes are down. And retaining them is again a big task.
Okay. You talked about various factors that are influencing rural economy, inflation, employment, and pandemic-led. What do you think what government should do? Because it's not just about reducing GST, it's also about creating employment, creating the income in the rural economy. So, 3 things if you can tell us about, what government should be playing these kind of role, or these 3 steps should be taken immediately.
That's a weighty ask. Let me try an easy one before that. One of the things that I think I should have mentioned, which I didn't in my earlier this thing, is that as we are seeing replacement buying going up, it is also directly leading to a service opportunity. So as opposed to waiting, so if you are able to do an outreach program with your current customer base, we are seeing many of our dealerships, close to 70% plus of our dealerships, are being able to purely operate at a profit level just on service alone. Right? Now that practice we are ensuring that in this year we will ensure that 100% are able to reach that mark. As replacement behavior changes, this is one of the sustainable chunks of dealership profitability that will remain. A, it improves customer satisfaction. B, it improves dealer profitability. C, that at the date when the replacement buy does happen, if he has had a good experience with you, chances are he's going to come back to the same dealership and hopefully to the same OEM. So those are the kind of actions. In terms of government interventions, I think one of the most striking dimensions is the Narega outlays, if you look at. Irrespective of what has been the initial outlay set out in the budget, the government has always very actively intervened in the quarters to up that outlay and to ensure that that level of distress does not come in. So I think that's been a fantastic job that the government has done. Also from this budget onwards, the kind of infrastructure build that they're talking about, and that's going out, and you see already some of the projects are on the roll. I think that's going to be the fundamental change, because that will genuinely create employment, create opportunity, and get commerce growing in those markets. And that's fundamentally the point that Amit was also mentioning, till you get demand up, and demand is on the basis of income, until you get something which is sustainable. So that infrastructure build out that the government is doing, again, is something which is fundamentally quite strong. The last piece, I think, remains in terms of infrastructure is on one dimension, but assisting in this transition with, let's say, the electrification that's happening. That is another place in which, from a common man's perspective, once I buy the vehicle, my running costs are practically next to nothing. So to be able to do that, the FAME support that the government is doing, that should be continued so that the electrification continues at the pace that we have seen and we don't flag off, and we are able to then truly see a large electrified market in India where the benefits of running at a really zero cost mobility, post your cost of purchase, but an operating cost becoming very low becomes a reality for the thing. And the beneficiaries that in rural would make a lot of sense. And because we already have electrification of the villages, but now electrification of mobility there would help a lot.
I think we were pretty much clear about our discussion, sir.